the frets were the movement. So WASD
Ah,
was the frets. The strum bar was shooting, and then I would hold the whammy bar down to toggle it so that I could turn, because by default it was strafing. It
ah.
took some figuring out how to do it, but once I did, the control scheme actually.
Oh, whoa. Welcome to Metaverse Degen. I'm blind.
I'm Old Man Raptor sitting here in the greenest thing you've ever seen, if you can see me, and we got one hell of a guest, and that is...
Hi, I'm the Last Seahorse. I'm a variety VTuber, musician, and DJ.
Ooh. Well,
Nice, nice, nice.
yeah. Thank you for joining us. It's an absolute pleasure to be able to sit across from you and meet you.
Yeah, nice meeting you,
Oh,
Seahorse.
yeah, likewise.
If that's okay if I call you just short situation. Okay,
Seahorse is great. I always say my pronouns are they, them, and seahorse.
Ooh.
All right.
Okay, I got that.
Since we heard what you're known for, we'll ask you what got you into VRChat and what got you started.
I am one of those people that started during 2020 because COVID and all of that kind of stuff. And I started because I found out about HoloLive and VTubers, and then I was like, wait, I can be a waifu on the internet? Oh, I'm totally in. And so I started researching and found out how to do VTubing, and ended up using a VRChat model for VTubing for a bit. And then that eventually led to getting an index and actually getting into VRChat, and then meeting some VRChat streamers. And about the time that I started doing VRChat and met some of those streamers, a few of my friends convinced me to become a DJ, and that's just kind of been my life ever since.
Oh.
I got you. Makes sense.
Oh.
Mm.
Well, thank you for joining us. So from there, when you decided to become a VTuber and learn to DJ, how did you get into VRChat, and what have been your journey from then to now like? What was it like being here doing VTubing and DJing? And did that come first or after? Sorry, I loaded you a lot of questions.
Yeah, that's fine.
I'm trying to pick the first one.
Yeah. So VTubing came first, and I just started streaming with a VTubing model like immediately. I knew nothing. I didn't know how Twitch worked. I didn't know any of it. And that was in August of 2020 is when I started doing the VTubing. And then I think the first time I did a VRChat stream was in like February of 2021, after I'd figured out, all of the OBS, all of the tools, how it worked, how to get a model in, how to make the model look not great, but passable. Because of course, my first model that I got in was my Vroid that I was using for VTubing, and we all know how Vroids look in VRChat, especially 5 years ago. And then I met the legendary O-Girls through some charity work, and started hanging out with her, hanging out on her streams, met other VRChat streamers, ended up hanging out with Lumichu for a while. And like when I say I kind of went from there, like my life has been a blur for the last 5 years. Because I started doing charity events, I started getting live DJ gigs, I started getting VRChat DJ gigs, I was DJing every week, and it just, I don't know, it just all happened, and I've just kind of gone with the flow, if that makes sense.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
And then
it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. It took over my life.
We've had a lot of people on, and that's a very common thing with VRChat. I came here because of a friend, and I started doing things, and I don't remember the last 4 years. It's just kind of how it happens. A lot of you come here, and then off an adventure you go.
Yeah, it just becomes another space that you visit. It's an actual like proper third space, since we've kind of lost a lot of those. And you go hang out with a friend, and they've got 2 friends with them, or 3 friends, or 1 friend, and then you talk to them, you get to know them, and then you're hanging out with them, and then you meet their friends, and then their friends, and it just kind of keeps going from there, and it's a never-ending social journey. I've made some of my best friends ever because of VRChat and VTubing. It's been wild. Yeah.
Ooh. So what have been some of your favorite memories since during VTubing as well as since you come into VRChat?
So one of my like favorite first memories in God, I'm trying to remember the world name, but it was just getting to like hang out at a friend's birthday party and just seeing how like lively everybody was, and the mood was so different and so much more like positive, and I don't know, it was, and of course like that would have been, God, that might have been late 2020 or early 2021, I forget, but it was obviously very different than what was going on in the world. We couldn't really see people, so it was a huge change. And once I started to meet people in VRChat, that led to Twitch more and meeting and hanging out in more Twitch streams. And then that led to things like one of my earliest memories, or one of my early favorite memories, was my first charity event for Trans Lifeline, where I did it was a Guild Wars event, and I had streamed for 120 days straight. I just started in August and just went, and finally my friends were like, "You need to take a break. You need to slow down and take a break." So I was like, "Okay, I'll do that." But in celebration of 120 days streaming every single day, I did. It was the holidays, and Guild Wars 2 has a holiday jumping puzzle event that they do. And so I did 120 runs through that jumping puzzle. Took about 7 hours to do, and I was just raising for money for Trans Lifeline the whole time. It was a blur, but we ended up raising over $2,000, and that was that moment when I realized like how much good you can do in streaming, and how much good you can do for the world just by putting yourself out there, and showing people that it's okay to be yourself and to be you.
Oh,
So
Nice.
yeah, that's been a reoccurring theme for me on my streaming, is a lot of people come and find me, and I present as non-binary, and I present femme, but I have a very masculine voice, and that's been very a lot of people have found comfort and solace in that, because it's a rare thing to find where somebody's mixing the two presentations and doing so like confidently, and not talking about voice training or anything like that. Like, no, this is just who I am. This is just something you can do. I'm not a femboy. I do identify as trans, but I am non-binary, and be who you are. Like what you like about yourself, you know?
oh. Well, that's such a very awesome thing for you to do for other people, I'm sure. Was that something you expected to do since starting VTubing?
No, not at all. That aspect just kind of came out of nowhere. It came, like, I started to figure it out because of chat over the first few months. And part of what led me to embrace some more of that was I had a very young child who probably shouldn't have been on Twitch. They claimed to be 13, but they ended up in my chat because they were pretty sure they were gay and they didn't know how to talk to their parents about it. And I had that moment of like, why are you in my chat talking to me about this? And I ended up talking to some people otherwise, and they were like, well, if you were 13 and you didn't know if your parents supported LGBTQIA plus, where would you go about it? And I was like, oh, because at the time, when I was 13, I would have gone to the internet and to like a forum or to something like that and asked the questions. So then I was like, crud. And that kind of led me towards the comfy streamer, safe space, come be yourself, exist as you are kind of vibe. Mm.
Oh, well, also, what have been some of your favorite streams as well since becoming a comfy streamer?
One of my recent favorite was last year when I was doing the last year. Yeah, it was last year. The final stream for one of the Trans Lifeline Raid Train events. And people went nuts with the donations, and I made the mistake of going, okay, I dare y'all. I dare. If we hit $55,000, then I will do an all Bad Apple DJ set. And it happened. And so I had the challenge of playing a 1 hour DJ set of nothing but a single song. Was different remixes of this same song, but man, that's a challenge. I was happy to like have the challenge, and it was for a great cause, but like that was one of those moments of like, oh man, this is just wild. I'm gonna remember this for the rest of my life. I think more recently too, getting to do a stream for is it the Minnesota Freedom Foundation's I can't remember the exact like subsection of it, but it was a giant anti-ICE charity event, and being able to perform for that was great. And I had my VTubing environment set up so that anytime anybody donated, it would drop a bunch of my like horses and blow high on me. And by the end of the 1 hour set that I had, my entire like virtual world stage, because my DJ setup is basically a VRChat world. It's just that I have it exported for my VTubing software, VNeon. People can think I'm in VRChat all the time when I DJ, but the like stage and like part of the dance floor and everything was just covered in stuff from all of the donations. And you couldn't really see my model. It's just this giant pile of like Minecraft horses and plush blow high. It was great. So, it's hard to think of a stream that's not a charity event though, because the charity events are just so special.
What makes you want to? What makes the charity event streams feel different than a normal stream? Ask.
You usually get different people through, and it really helps reinforce that people care. You know, like there are people out there that are helping to make the world a better place however they can. And as I always say, like when we're doing charity events, you don't have to give money. Just being at a charity event is a huge thing. And spreading the word of it, things like that. And people do that way more with charity event streams and charity events and things like that. It just, I don't know, it just feels special. Part of it is we're all there to support like one thing. You know, there's a much more clear, focused purpose to things. Also, probably because I've stopped DJing as much over the recent years, and so these kind of events are one of the few times that I'll do DJ events outside of other like special events. So that also kind of makes them special. That, and usually I'll try and figure out special things to do for them. So there's just a lot more of a conscious focus on the event, as opposed to like normal streams or hanging out in normal VR chat stuff where it's just like, I'm there, like, let's talk, let's hang out, let's talk about whatever.
Ooh.
I got one for him, Lion. Seahorse,
Mm.
since you've been in VR and everything else as long as you have, has
Mm.
it helped you in the real world?
Oh, absolutely. Actually, I had a weird one the other day. So I've been on HRT for about a year now. 420 is my 1 year anniversary. Yes, I did that on purpose. And recently I had to start wearing bras. And I had that moment of looking down in the real world and going, what is this VRChat? Why do I have boobs? Because like that was the first time I experienced it, was in VRChat, and it really got to like help inform me of like style and how certain body types felt and all sorts of other things. Like, if you have gender dysphoria, or like you just have an ideal that you have a hard time making IRL, I think a lot of us have had that moment where you find that model in VR chat, or that combination of the right outfit, the right model, the right expressions, and you look at yourself in the mirror and it just kind of hits you like a ton of bricks. And I remember like I've been using Haka forever. Haka is just like the base that I identify with the most, and I've tried to switch to different ones, but I always end up back at Haka. I don't know why. It just is. But I remember one day looking at myself in a mirror in VR chat and just kind of like crying because something finally felt right. And that was like one of those steps of the journey of kind of like going, maybe you should really embrace the whole trans thing. My journey with that is very complicated, but VR chat has been like a very huge like push to fully embrace it. And not just because of models, but because of the community here in VR chat. And I mean, we have Trans Academy now. That's been a huge thing that's come from this community and from the love and support we all have for each other, you know. And I mean, like, this interview came from when I was part of the VRChat charity event in November, raising money for Trans Lifeline. So again, like, this kind of stuff has been just central to my journey as a person, as a streamer, as somebody that exists in VR chat spaces. It's just, yeah.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I understand where that can be a good thing in that situation, Seahorse. I get that.
Yeah. I mean, like, VR chat gives you the space to explore identity, like, truly in the most flexible of ways. And there are all sorts of different ways that you discover identity and can learn to accept yourself. So yeah.
Oh, now that you bring up the charity event, Mask, what was your experience with the charity event like?
That was weird. And I don't want to say that. I want to emphasize it wasn't because of anything that the organizers did. The organizers were awesome. They did an incredible job. I remember like they started asking people like a year before the event and talking to us about it and stuff like that. And I just remember them talking about what they were doing. And I was like, that goes so incredibly above and beyond. I can't believe that y'all are doing this just for this like one event. And they pulled it off. The world was incredible. It was a completely scratch built custom world for the event with multiple different sections. They built a full custom DJ like room which was basically an entire world in and of itself. They were incredible to work with, but it was weird for me because I guess like trigger/content warning, I have a stalker. And that was right around the time that we found out that they were active in VRChat. And so it was weird trying to deal with being in VRChat and like performing and being part of this event, and also like having to worry about something significant like that for the first time. Because it's one thing if they're just like, oh, they might show up in your chat. It's another thing if they might show up in VRChat and like come rushing at you or yelling at you, or like totally different experiences. So yeah, other than that, the event was a ton of fun. I think I had what I called a sleep deprived DJ set because I had to stay up all night because my slot was at like 7 a.m. Pacific time. And there's no way I was going to wake up for it.
Okay.
So yeah, I just kind of like enjoyed myself, had fun. Everybody was there, had fun. It was great. It was also one of the first times I was using the webcam tracking combined with the iPhone that I'm using now. There are a lot of reasons for that, but it was considerably easier to DJ with this setup because it's much more like what I'm used to doing. Because VRChat DJing, like juggling the helmet, juggling like looking at people, making sure that you're hearing what the world is doing and all of this kind of stuff. Like there's so many different layers of things. Although honestly, it's way more like DJing in a venue, like a lot of the same concerns, but actually I would say more difficult than DJing in a real venue. But yeah, it was a neat experience. And yeah, and I built this model. That's why I've got the yellow and black, because the whole event was bee themed. And so I wanted to do some sort of like simple, basic nod to that.
Ooh. Okay. Well, I'm sorry you had to
Makes
deal with that
sense.
experience, but I'm also glad you had fun. But little bits I was able to attend because my day job kind of prevented me from attending a lot of it. But it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. Oh, all right. I have a question for you since you're a streamer. How do you interact with your audience? Like when people are watching, well, what is the do's and don'ts?
Do's are be respectful. Basically treat people the same way that you would treat people the same way you want to be treated to a certain extent, because there's a lot of variation in that. Don't get too friendly. Mind the parasocial parts, because it goes both ways, because I can get parasocial with people just as much as chat can get parasocial with me. But like, I don't know, I have a lot of streamer toys that people love to interact with. I built a like interactive, calling it a game is a bit of a stretch, but an interactive part of the stream called the Cheesening, because I have a redeem since I'm a cat. I just realized this model doesn't have my cat ears on it. Oh God. I am a cat named Seahorse, also known as a variety cat, and we all know that it's fun to like slap cheese into the face of a cat. So I made that a thing. And then I took it a step further and built a little mini game where I reduced the redeem down to 1 channel point, and then chat spams that at me as much as they can, but it keeps a running tally of how many slices of cheese chat is thrown at me. And so then they try and beat the highest score. And every slice of cheese has James May going cheese, but it also has a chance to play another set of random meme sounds, part of which have been selected by chat. And so people really love that interaction. And then I've just got some other stuff to celebrate things, confetti. It's like a lot of what I try and do is, granted, last year was rough because 2025, and so it was hard to be positive all the time. It was hard to figure out how to juggle letting people get some stuff out of their system that they clearly needed to, as well as myself, without bringing the stream down significantly. And that was something I don't think I did the best job of. I'm being more mindful of it, but I try and create a space where people feel safe, people feel comfortable, and they can have just fun. I try and keep it light. Definitely a lot of like the cheese is a good example of slapstick humor that goes on, but I like to encourage that kind of stuff, just nice and simple. But I also play retro games a lot. I do have a world record in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Manhattan Mission, and I try and do challenges like finishing the original Castlevania on NES without dying, which I managed somehow. That's actually one of my proudest achievements in my life. It's just wild. I'm also known in the retro community for playing through the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles on the NES.
Ooh.
Yes, that one. The one with the dam stage. The one that everybody has PTSD from their childhood on, or like is infamous. But yeah, that one, I don't know. One day I was like, I want to be able to finish this. I just want to be able to do this. And I also played through retro games. Fun fact, the second time I finished Castlevania was with a Guitar Hero controller. And I've done a bunch of those. I don't know, like, I guess, and then of course DJing. And I used to DJ like every Friday for like 6 hours. I still have no idea how I DJ'd for 6 hours straight without a break. Like every Friday for 2 years.
Wow.
Something like that.
That's
yeah.
impressive.
Wow.
It's
That's very impressive.
insane. I really don't know how I did it. I'd start at 8 p.m. Pacific and run until like 2 to 3 a.m. most days. Some days I'd go until 5 a.m.
Wow.
Yeah. I just had a lot of fun. So, but people knew me for like, hey, let's go start our weekend with Seahorse and just listen to some great music and kind of zone out or play a game or whatever.
Something that interests me that I'd like to ask a little bit more about is you do challenges. What have been some of the challenges you've done? What have been the hardest and easiest? What made you choose those?
The hardest was definitely doing a deathless Castlevania run, strangely. That one I chose because of Dot Level's Castlevania challenge. So every year she runs a challenge in October where you try and finish as many Castlevania games as you can in a month. And it's gold, silver, and copper. Copper is just finishing the game. Silver is finishing the game without using a continue. And then gold is you did it without dying. And so because of that, I was just like, I want to learn how to play through the original Castlevania on the NES without dying. I just wanted to. That was just, my brain was just like, you can do this. You should learn how to do this. The Guitar Hero ones, that was funny because I was playing Doom, which is one of my favorite games to play. And somebody came into chat and said, I dare you to play it with a Guitar Hero controller. And I said, well, I have a Guitar Hero controller like right here. And then one of my mods was like 1,000 bits if you do it. And then that led to me finishing the original Doom with a Guitar Hero controller, like all 3 episodes all the way through.
How
Not at ultra-violent, but
how
at
does
like
that even
the
work? I'm just trying to wrap my
That's
brain
what I've
around
been
how do
trying
you
to
play
fucking figure
Doom
out.
with a fucking
With
Guitar Hero controller. Just goes beyond what I can think of.
yeah. So
I'm trying to.
the frets were the movement. So WASD
Ah,
was the frets. The strum bar was shooting, and then I would hold the whammy bar down to toggle it so that I could turn, because by default it was strafing. It
ah.
took some figuring out how to do it, but once I did, the control scheme actually makes a lot of sense and is about as intuitive as you can make something like that. Um, I'm still trying to figure out how to play Power Wash Simulator with it, because I owe that from a streaming
That's
event.
fucked. That's just fucking fucked, man. I have enough trouble
So
just using regular fucking controllers, and you know, oh, let's try this with a guitar. What? Oh my god! What the hell? Holy shit! I got one for you, Seahorse, and everything else
yeah.
like this. I usually ask it if somebody comes. Usually, I ask most guests when somebody comes out of the blue, right, and says, "Hey,
Mm.
I'd like to try something that you're doing, blah blah blah, in here in VR." What advice would you give them, not knowing them from Adam?
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Really quick, really quick. Hi, I'm here to interrupt the episode. If you're interested in learning more about VRChat creators and communities across the platform, you should check out Nova Notes podcast over on YouTube, Spotify, and many other platforms. It's my podcast. I run a podcast as well. Hi, my name is Nova Player. I gotta go. Don't have much time. Gotta go.
I usually just like, when people come in and ask, like, yeah, usually it's like, how do I get into VR, or how do I stream? Those are 2 very like common questions. I just talk about what my experience has been and what I have found in my journey to be the most effective. You know, like, what headset do you use? Well, I use an Index because the Deckard isn't out yet. Please let it come out this year, please. And you know, I use OBS. I have it set up this way, that kind of stuff. Or like for VTubing, I use Vignon. I use it for like these reasons. These are how you set it up. Like, I've looked into doing tutorials and stuff too, because I like teaching people. So these kind of questions are something I actively like, as long as they don't like completely derail my stream. Uh, but I try and just answer genuinely, and that honestly, the wildest one I ever had was somebody came into my chat and was like, I'm transphobic, but I just found out one of my best friends is trans and I don't want to be transphobic anymore. Can you help me?
Wow, how would you
Wow.
answer that question? That would
And
be a
That
tough
is
one.
yeah,
That's nuts.
that's like the ultimate hard mode. And everybody was just like, this person's a troll, get rid of them. And I was like, no, stop, everybody stop. Like, this person seems genuine. Let's at least try to interact. And they were genuine, which is so rare. And so they ended up asking a lot of questions about like, how did I know I was trans? How did other people in chat know they were trans? What's our experience been like? What's been hard for us? What can I do to help my friend? Things like that. Like, it was incredibly encouraging. And it's so rare to see something like that happen, but that's also kind of like the weird power of like Twitch. And that's something that I find, that specific question I've not seen anywhere else. But like, again, it comes back to the like, people are much more comfortable asking like a lot of personal questions, which has positives and negatives to VRChat streamers and like just chatting streamers and IRL streamers on Twitch. You know, it just, there's it's the right level of anonymity for people, I believe, is one of the biggest things.
Yeah, I think you're right there. I think it's because there's a separation between them not knowing you and knowing being able to find you. You can share those personal things a lot of the time. And
Yep.
how do you handle those situations personally? May I ask?
That stuff's changed a bit recently because of the stalker. I used to be much more open with like myself and things like that. But I've kind of like stopped doing that to a certain extent. But I still try and like answer things genuinely, and I still try and be like myself without revealing personally identifying information kind of stuff.
I can understand that.
Yeah, like I don't know. Seahorse is a persona to a certain extent, but still basically me. There is, a person behind Seahorse, and Seahorse is basically an exaggerated version of myself, but it's still me, and I still want to be genuine, and I don't want to be fake. There's enough of that in the world. We don't need that. And I don't know.
Ooh.
Just want to. I don't know.
No,
that's a.
I very much understand. It's a very tough subject to like want to help people, especially with I can understand the parasocial nature of things. That is a very difficult thing to do, to balance between, do I give them the answer or do I allow them to further connect to me in a way that may or may not be unhealthy? So I understand why that's a very tough question. I'm sorry for asking that.
Yeah. No, so it's okay. And I think like it's definitely something that I don't think a lot of people hear like candid answers about either. And I actually found out too that a lot of my friends that are streamers have dealt with like stalkers and all sorts of weird parasocial situations. So, it is a good reminder to everybody to like, hey, we're people too. Chill, okay? We're not here to be your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your like anything like that. We are just people on the internet. We want to create a space, and we want you to feel comfortable or to be entertained or to whatever the space is designed for. But like, I'm not your personal friend. I'm just here. I am the same as like watching a sitcom, except, well, actually, to be fair, some of my streams end up looking like sitcoms. I do improv, and I have another character I play, and we recreate kind of like weird 90s sitcom vibes sometimes. But like, like I'm a TV show.
I'm thinking a lot.
And I know that some people.
Oh, sorry.
And I know that a lot of people still have problems thinking that like a TV personality is their friend too, but still.
Probably a lot of those people watching you probably put a lot of the streamers and stuff to the same category as TV show characters, as you were saying, where, people like, I want to match this character with this character. We'll be best friends. I really love this one. People like go a little too hard on the characters that are not real. And I think probably streamers kind of get chalked up into the same kind of category. Because I think a lot of people just don't have that separation between the two.
Yeah, I think that's somewhat natural too, because there is definitely I mean, like, this is definitely something that the world of Twitch, the world of VRChat, the internet is very attractive to people that are neurodiverse. And with neurodiversity also comes a lot of challenges with like understanding social norms. And so it's just a kind of giant blend of like, it's difficult. And even for a normal neurotypical person, this stuff can still become parasocial, and it can still be difficult. So.
Oh. Alrighty. So thank you very much for answering. I do appreciate that, even though it's a bit of a touchy subject. So thank you very much for answering that. Another question is for DJing. What was your first set like, and how did you get better over time?
Okay, so that's that is actually one of my favorite ones. So it was the first time I got a level 5 hype train on Twitch.
Ooh.
And I had said I did the thing where I opened my mouth and I said, I will do this if you do this. And chat delivered. And so I actually did my first DJ set just using Fubar 2000. So basically just using a music player. I didn't have a DJ deck. I didn't have DJ software. I didn't do any of that. I just played music and skipped around between my songs and had a 1 second crossfade. And people loved it. And it really also kind of shows that the biggest part of DJing is song selection and knowing how to get from one song to another song. And then after that, it was like, well, I should probably get DJ software. And then I did a couple sets with, mouse and keyboard and DJ software. And then I went and got proper DJ equipment. And then that just kind of went. At this point, I'm known for, I just do whatever. I don't like sticking to a single genre, especially. I like doing wild things. Like at one point I made an offhand comment of like, Eurobeat is really the ska of electronic music. So I was like, what if I did a ska and Eurobeat set? And people loved it. So I kept doing them. And I mix a lot of metal into my sets when I do like drum and bass or like hardstyle or like happy hardcore, because the vibes tend to be similar. Like it's very, I do what I want because I've listened to a large amount of music over the last 20 years, and I have always, I didn't know what DJs were, and I used to not think much of them, which is why all of this is hysterical. Because I thought like what they did was just what everybody did. But it turns out, no, it turns out that I have always been a DJ. Like it turned out that like, when I was young and I was contemplating playlists and going like, well, this song doesn't quite fit with this song. What if I moved it here? And then I need a song that fits into this. But that breaks the story that I'm trying to tell with these tracks and this journey of music. That's not what normal people do.
Ooh. Well, it still sounds like you're having a good time with it, though. And I guess in the end, that's all that really matters when you're doing it.
Yeah, I've had some of what I would call the artist problems, which is you get to a certain level and then you start thinking about stuff a lot more and you start to become more critical of yourself. And then you get in your own head and it kind of spirals and stuff like that happens. And I've been dealing with that and like burnout as a whole. But I still have fun DJing and I still have fun making mashups of the dumbest things.
What is your more favorite mashup than Mask?
One of my favorites that I've done recently is incredibly stupid, which is I figured out that it's all about the Pentiums by Weird Al mashes up with the Super Mario Brothers Super Show theme.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah, like one of the first ones that I started doing was actually I found out that the Duke Nukem theme mashes up with Wonderwall by Oasis.
I both like that and hate that at the same time.
It is.
I'm just trying to wrap my fucking head around it. Going, huh?
It is a blurst mashup. It is a blurst mashup. My other favorite one recently is do you remember the Gadon meme from the mid 2000s?
No, I do not.
It's the one where the character or the model or the whatever does the like giant spinning like a ball of movement and
I do. That was annoying as fuck. Listening to that.
So the song is called Promise from that, and I was like, I wonder if that would mash up with any of the tracks from GoldenEye, because that meme came from GoldenEye. And I figured out that the damn stage from GoldenEye would mash up with the song. So So now,
Wow. That's
yeah. So
fucked.
and it was actually fun because I ended up being part of an event with I had picked Toxic Eternity, his cover of the GoldenEye Dam stage, just because it was one of the better ones I found. I liked the vibe. It was easy to work with. But when I debuted that mix, he was actually part of the event, and it was wild to be like, hey, I'm gonna be debuting a thing that I used your remix from, and I hope that's okay. And when he found out what it was, he was just like, that is amazing. Yes, please.
Wow.
Now, what is your audience's favorite mashups, and what is their least favorite mashup?
Oh god, what's their least favorite one? Give me a second. I want to pull up my list of them because I can't think of it right now, but if I look at it, I will definitely remember it. So they love the Duke Nukem one. They also really love the aquatic ambience from Donkey Kong mashed up with Careless Whisper. That's an absolute classic for them. They adore it. Let's see here. The Super Mario Super Show with Weird Al was definitely not as popular.
I can see why.
People are just like, why does this work? And I can't decide if I like this or not. Please send help.
Medic! Medic! Yeah, we're out in the woods. We ain't gonna get shit
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Yeah, the other one that's been really popular is I found out that the song Winning the Soul from Uma Musume mashed up with Voodoo People from The Prodigy. And so that was a fun one that I put a lot of effort into and actually learned a lot more about producing a mashup and things like that. But that one's been super well received, and people are like, you're gonna release this, right? You're gonna like actually release this as a single. And I'm like, we'll see. We'll see.
So, a question I'd like to ask you is, what has been some of the best events or advice you've gotten that helped you improve with DJing?
Let's see here. The best event that I've gotten to do is I actually got to perform as a holographic VTuber at an event in. Yeah, it was the bonus stage ultimate event that happened last. When was that? November? What even is time? But yeah, I built an entire holographic like rig, which sounds a lot more impressive than it is. It's basically just a like a mesh screen, because like Hatsune Miku's uses a glass screen, although now they no longer do that. I think they got tired of it. So I did that, and I got to perform, and it was an incredibly huge challenge. And it was an incredibly huge challenge while I was doing it. But it was a ton of fun. The audience enjoyed themselves. That was amazing. One of my life goals was originally it was to play the Penny Arcade Expo in Seattle as like a cover band, video game cover band, because I used to love Metroid Metal and Arm Cannon and people like the Mini Bosses and Proto Men and stuff like that. But that ended up like not happening for a number of reasons. But then I became a DJ, and all of a sudden I had an opportunity to play at MagFest, which is the music and gaming festival. And for some reason, I didn't ever think I'd be able to do that. Like I, for some reason, thought Penny Arcade would be more doable than MagFest. But I was actually able to play MagFest in 2025. And I got to play Mag West in 2023 as part of the like pool party.
Oh,
And those were both like I got to fulfill a life goal because of VTubing, becoming a DJ, and VRChat.
what was your experience like
Uh,
playing for them, Mask? Going to your life goal and being there on the stage.
it was wild and honestly fugue state. Like I remember starting, I remember like I just remembered the energy and it was so much fun. And I've been able to listen back to the sets and hear things and like it was just fun. And that's just what I remember from all of it is I got up, I didn't feel nervous, I didn't feel anything. I was just grateful for the opportunity and just wanted to bring my best to the stage and to the audience, and I wanted them to just enjoy their time. That was my like biggest focus, even though at the pool party I was like, do y'all like Pokemon? Yeah. What's your favorite song? What's your favorite game? Yeah. This next song's from Digimon.
I'm sure they love that.
Oh yeah.
And then like 2 songs later I played a great remix of the Pokemon anime theme, and then a couple songs after that like another Pokemon game song. So but yeah, I love being a little troll like that sometimes.
Ooh. All right. Were you nervous up there on that stage for them?
For the pool party, no. Strangely, I wasn't. That one, I think it was because it's a pool party. Like it's so incredibly casual, like it, and everybody's just there to have fun. And I was just there to have fun. For when I was playing Pose at MagFest, I was much more nervous for that, because I was having some problems with some software and it's my first time doing a club show and the layout was weird and it was loud and it was just like it was loud even for a club. It was otherworldly levels of loud. And but you know, I looked at people getting into the music once I got started and I was just like, this is fine. And I just went and just did my thing. I had the set planned out. I just like that's one of the things about these two is I make sure that for really important gigs everything is planned out. I know exactly where I'm doing things, like where things are happening, what the songs are, where I can cut time if I end up running over or if things get cut short, stuff like that, so that I don't have to think about that on the fly.
Ooh.
Mm,
All right.
nice.
Would you ever do MagFest again?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Actually, my goal at this point is to be able to perform on main stage as a holographic VTuber.
Ooh. So for those who don't know,
like
me, what is
yeah.
a holographic VTuber in terms of how is that different
So
from
it
anything else?
so basically it's I replicate the Hatsune Miku style performances.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean by like a holographic. It's not really a holograph, but it gives that effect, and it's just something interesting and different. But that's kind of like the ultimate way to, as an indie VTuber, I think, to do a performance. Because you can do things projected, you can do things remotely, you can do all sorts of cool things, you can do cool stuff in VRChat, but like a holograph, like bringing your model and your VTuber or VRChat self to a stage as close to seamlessly as you can and really blend the real world and the virtual world is to me a very special performance.
Oh, I have another random question for you that involves VTubing. Do you have your own lore? Do you create it for you or is it for the audience?
Yes. I have so much lore. I have a wiki.
Oh wow.
And I have and kind of like I keep track of like the 2 parts of it, because there's the official like this is actually what happened, but then there's also the like fictional, this is kind of like what happened within the like world and the story setup stuff. And then like I said, I have characters because I have Nora the narrator. Hello, I live with Seahorse. They're my roommate. used to do narration professionally in the movie industry and the TV industry, but one day there was an incident, okay, and I was kind of expelled from Hollywood and put on one of those do not hire lists, and I've had problems getting work ever since then. Thankfully, I had worked with Seahorse at a few gigs. Most notably, early on in their career, they were playing Fortnite, and I did some narration for them randomly on a stream, and they offered to let me stay with them. And so, here I am. How can I turn down free rent?
Now, when the lore started, was it something you wanted to do, or did something naturally happen? How did that happen?
It kind of happened naturally. Like to a certain extent at the time, it was very much the like all VTubers were impersonating HoloLive, and so we didn't talk about ourselves. You weren't supposed to like talk about who you actually were. You had to have this lore and this background story, and so I kind of did some of that. But I also kind of fed into what chat did, and a lot of this has just grown organically from like discussions in chat and like improv, and also some planning around like how does this thing exist kind of stuff.
Okay. Would you mind giving us a brief rundown of what your lore is? Because I'm curious now.
Okay, so the background for the Last Seahorse and why I am the Last Seahorse, the lore, the fictional lore, is there is the Isle of Seahorse, and the Isle of Seahorse exists somewhere in the Pacific Ocean, and it is a civilization of what were once seahorses that built this civilization and existed, just like normal humans did, and one day, there was an apocalyptic event for us, which is that a bus crashed into the island, and this entire thing was built around Fortnite because I was originally a Fortnite streamer. Meteor bus, whatever, large impact, basically nuked the island and everybody on it. I was actually out on a boat a ways away where I wasn't supposed to be. I went out much further than I should have gone, which shielded me enough from the event that I survived. But one of the times I told this story on stream, I got so detailed that I started crying. But I came back to the island. I saw that like my home was destroyed. Everything was destroyed. I looked around and I was just like, well, and so being very depressed and struggling to just even parse things, I got back in the boat. I just picked a direction and went and ended up on the coast of Washington, and found my way to basically somebody saw my boat, was like, that's a really unique boat. Can I buy it from you? And I was just like, okay. And it was some rich dude, I don't know, but he gave me enough money that I was able to buy a warehouse, and I slowly converted it into what's known as the dive bar, which is the club that I play in and DJ from, and where I live and Nara lives and Small Horse lives. And the thing is too, and part of the lore is that I don't actually know if I am the last Seahorse or not. So part of why I stream is to potentially find any other members of the Isle of Seahorse that may still be out there, so that we can at least get together and find comfort and safety knowing that there are more of us out there. Now, the actual way that all of this went down is I had to make an account to play Fortnite, and I didn't want to use my normal account name. And I was like, what would make people feel bad when they kill me in Fortnite?
Yep, that'll do it.
That'll do it. Every which way, yeah.
Like, great, tender, like, huge story troll.
Oh, you mind if we ask the last couple questions, Seahorse, before we start wrapping things up?
Go for it.
All right. Well, you kind of answered the first one, but I'll ask it again. The name you get in VRChat, where did it come from, and why to use it?
Well, we just covered that.
Yep.
Yep.
Pretty
Yep.
much.
That's yeah. And then like once I had it, I just stuck with it. It was just so like interesting and different. And the other thing too is that being non-binary, seahorses are like the only species on the planet where the males have the babies. So it's the ultimate like kind of screw you gender.
Makes sense. Never looked at it that way before.
Yep.
Ooh.
Hmm.
And the last question is the avatar use of VRChat or your VTuber model, both. Where'd you get it? Why to use it? Is there anything about it that means anything to you?
So this one I came across. So this is the Haka base that I've modified a bit to fit more of my like VTubing model. And and basically I don't use my VTubing model in VRChat because rippers are a thing and I don't want to, all of that kind of stuff. But I've always used, not always, I've always found Haka comfortable, and I've yet to find anything else that works quite as well. So here I am. It just was like one of the first ones that I like identified with and felt like me, like truly like me. And then as far as my VTubing model, that one's something that was originally a Vroid, and that I started to like work on and learn how all of this stuff worked. And then I have slowly customized it, rebuilt it, transferred it to a VRChat base. Most of it is at this point VRChat stuff. VRChat kit bash, basically. With the exception of at one point I paid Fofamet to do custom blend shapes for my model. So my face is actually still a Vroid because of that, but it's super expressive, and I love that. That's again part of why I like using the iPhone and desktop mode in VRChat, is that I get way more of myself across than with the index, because I don't have any way to do eye or face tracking right now with that.
Ooh.
So
Thank you very much for coming on and allow us to get to know you and hear all about you and hear your journey. It's been an absolute pleasure and honor to meet you. So thank you very much.
Yeah, very much so.
yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
Oh, and if anyone in the audience wishes to reach out and find you, where would they go to find you?
Twitch.tv/The Last Seahorse, or thelastseahorse.com for like my complete list of socials. I mostly post on Blue Sky when it comes to social media.
Righty. We'll have both of those for you and the audience to find. If you go down the video description, it'll be right down there to find. If you're on Spotify, it'll be in the episode description a little farther for it, but it'll still be there for you to copy and paste into your browser. And with that being said, Mr. Raptor, you know the thing.
No matter what, folks, when you're in VR and stuff like this, and you got somebody you just meet and he mentions cheese, maybe he'll load me a truckload of sliced cheese so I can make crop circles in this goddamn world where I am, because I can't see shit. You have a good one. And hopefully you can see over the grass better than I can. Bye. Have a nice one. Bye. Meow. 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 This is not as easy as it looks without making it. Beep beep. Mom, I forgot to get my flyer license. Yeah. My helicopter's in the ditch. Whoa, big hole. Whoa. Beep beep.